Stop lowering the bar for people who don't want to rise to the occasion. Like, people be wanting you to lower your standards and negotiate on your non-negotiables so they can squeeze in a spot that doesn't necessarily fit them. If it doesn't fit you, or if you don't fit in the spot, that's fine. We can both keep it moving. Ooh, girl, you looking nice. Hey girl, welcome back to my channel. My name is Trinity. If you're new here, today we're going to be talking about how to stop being pressed. We're going to get right into it. No long intro today, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, especially if this is not your first time here, and if you like content about personal development, self-development, becoming your best self, your highest self, because that is my specialty. So yeah, like I said, let's get right into it. Okay, so first off, I don't know if the term pressed is a Baltimore thing or if that's something that everybody says, because I tried looking up a definition online, like what does the slang term pressed mean, and I didn't really get the definition that I have in my head. So I'm gonna break it down for y'all just in case you don't know. So basically, if you're pressed, that means you're desperate, very much giving I don't have many other options. It gives I have to have this or I have to have you. And the problem comes in when you're pressed for things or people who don't live up to your standards. Like, you can be pressed for a man, you can be pressed for friends, you can be pressed for a job, money, an opportunity. And I feel like these things that I'm going to share with y'all are things that apply to pretty much all of those things. I already have a video similar to this. It's titled How to Stop Being Desperate, and that video, like I said, is similar to this one, but I feel like this is more of like a step-by-step how to stop being a pressed girl or person, because it might be guys watching this, but you know what I mean. And I will link the other video down below if you want to watch that one. So my first tip is to have standards. I talk about standards and preferences all the time on my channel, so if you're not new, then I'm pretty sure you've already heard this and you already know what I'm about to say. You have to have standards, and you have to make sure you can differentiate between your standards and your preferences, because they are two totally different things. Standards are your non-negotiables, the things that you need to have in a relationship, a job, career, friendship, whatever. They're the things you absolutely need to have, the things that you're not wavering on. And preferences are things that you prefer. I always talk about how I used to have a bunch of preferences that I thought were standards, and I know now that they were preferences because I was wavering on them. I was saying, oh, I need to have this in a partner, but when I look at my track record, I clearly didn't need those things because the guys I was dating did not live up to those standards. It's like I was kind of giving suggestions, like, oh yeah, I would like to have this, and you don't really fit the bill, but I'm gonna let you slide. You need standards for multiple reasons. One, they stand as filters. Anyone who does not fit the criteria, the list of standards, cannot get in. So when you don't have any standards, anyone can get in, and that never goes well. You should not have an anyone can get in type of attitude when it comes to your life, your heart, just access to you, period. No, you need a wristband for this. You gotta fit a certain criteria. I'm not just accepting any and everything and any and everybody. Like I said, your standards serve as filters. You know, when you go on websites like Fashion Nova or Pretty Little Thing, like websites where they have a whole lot of stuff to choose from. If you're looking for something specific, you're gonna turn on the filter so that you don't have to waste time looking through a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't even fit what you're looking for. Let's say you're going to an event where you have to wear all black, and you know you want a midi black dress. You might click on the dresses category, and then you'll turn on the filter for what color? Black. What length? Midi. And all of a sudden you're looking at a whole bunch of black midi dresses. It saves you time because you don't have to look through a bunch of pink dresses, blue skirts, green shirts. Like, you don't have to look through a bunch of unnecessary things. You're literally being shown what you're looking for, and you want to operate your life just like that. You have to know what you're looking for. Now, I've shared this opinion before. It might be an unpopular opinion. I don't know. I really don't care either. So if you disagree, then you disagree. But I feel like the man should always pursue the woman. So you shouldn't technically be pursuing a man, but you should definitely have your eyes open for certain things. So when you have standards, let's say your standards are that you want a man of God. You don't want someone who parties all the time. You want someone who's family oriented. You want someone who has leadership qualities. Like, let's say those are things that you absolutely need to have in a partner. You want to make sure your eyes and ears are open for those things whenever you're dating or just meeting people casually. Because if you are not actively looking for those things and making sure whoever you're talking to is checking these boxes, you're going to end up with the opposite of what you said you wanted. My second tip is to stop being afraid to lose people. This one has to go right after the first one, because a lot of people are scared to voice their standards and voice their non-negotiables because they're afraid of losing people. They keep quiet about the things that really make them happy. They keep quiet about the things that they really, really want in a partner or in a friendship or in a career, how much money they actually want to make, because they don't want to miss out on the opportunity of whatever is in front of them. And when you do this, you are not showing up as your authentic self. I mentioned something in one of my recent videos about setting boundaries and really making people rise to the occasion. And someone commented and said something along the lines of being afraid to set boundaries because they don't want people to feel like they're being selfish. And my response to her was, you shouldn't even want people around you who see your boundaries as you being selfish. You don't want people around you who are threatened by your boundaries. They have to be able to coexist with your boundaries, or they're not for you. Anyone who does not want to rise to the occasion, anyone who doesn't want to respect your boundaries, is simply going to filter themselves out by leaving you alone. And that's fine, because lowering the bar and going back and forth about your standards and your non-negotiables is doing nothing but telling that person, I need you more than I need these boundaries that I set. I need you more than I need my self-respect, my dignity. There is no one in this world who you desperately need to be in a relationship with. There's no one in this world who you desperately need to be friends with, especially if they're not the type of partner or the type of friend that you want for yourself. If you're not new here, then you know that I reference Tony Gaskins a lot. If you have never heard of him, I will link his channel down below, like I always do whenever I mention him. But I've learned a lot from him when it comes to like just being a better woman and navigating in the dating world and being in relationships and stuff like that. And one thing he swears by is the fact that a woman should always be willing to leave a man. And I 100% agree. If you are not willing to leave someone for whatever reason, you are pressed and you are desperate. You cannot need someone so much that you're willing to let them get away with murder. People should know that when they do certain things, they're going to have consequences. And one of those consequences might be you walking away from them. You have to be willing to walk away when someone does not fit the criteria. Now, the flip side to that is, don't be walking away to be manipulative, because I know a lot of women who will walk away just because they think that's going to get the man to do whatever they want them to do or be whoever they want them to be. And that is a very dangerous game to play. You cannot walk away from a man, or anything for that matter, in hopes that they will chase you. You have to be okay with the possibility of that chase not happening at all. And like I said, all of this stuff applies to many different scenarios, not just relationships. Let's just say you're a content creator and a brand reaches out to you and they say, hey, we want these deliverables and we're willing to offer you this amount of money. If that amount that they're offering is way below your rates and you just decide like, I don't want to do that, that's not enough for me, you can't walk away thinking that you walking away and declining is going to make them say, you know what, we're going to raise that number, we'll give you what you're asking for. Like, if they decide to do that, that's nice, and it actually happens often. But when you say no, you have to be okay with the possibility of them not coming back saying, we're going to raise that number. Because they might just say, okay, that's fine, we'll circle back whenever our budget increases, whatever. You have to be okay with missing opportunities. You have to be okay with missing out on people or people missing out on you. Stop lowering the bar for people who don't want to rise to the occasion, because they're literally telling you, they're literally doing you a favor by saying, I don't want to do that, or I can't do that. They're telling you ahead of time that if you are to continue on with the relationship or whatever it is you're trying to continue on with, they are not going to do what it is that you're asking them to do. They're literally telling you that up front, and you have to respect that. I know so many women who don't want to respect when men say, yeah, I ain't gonna be able to do that, or that's not gonna work for me. That's something that women actually need to be able to take from men. So do not walk away to be manipulative. Walk away because whatever that person is offering you does not serve you. I saw a post the other day that said, once you get good at saying, that's just not gonna work for me, you take so much of your power back. And that is so true. That's something that I have mastered over the last maybe year or so. I'm quick to tell somebody, yeah, that's not gonna work for me, so this is what we gonna do. Because this is what I want for myself. This is where the bar is. You're either gonna rise to the occasion or you're not. And it's not about being mean. It's not about being selfish, or maybe it is about being selfish. I don't know. Because being selfish isn't always a bad thing. It's more so about saving yourself the trouble. Like, people be wanting you to lower your standards and negotiate on your non-negotiables so they can squeeze in a spot that doesn't necessarily fit them. If it doesn't fit you, or if you don't fit in the spot, that's fine. We can both keep it moving. My mom told me a while ago that when I was little and she used to take me to buy shoes, I would literally ball my foot up in a shoe just to say that I could fit it if they didn't have a bigger size, because I wanted the shoe so bad. And that's what a lot of people do in a lot of different areas of their lives. Stop trying to shrink yourself or dumb yourself down so that you can meet people where they are, or make something fit that clearly does not fit. It's okay. You don't have to be desperate, because being desperate is literally saying there are no other options. I have no other options. There won't be any other opportunities. There won't be any other men. Being desperate is literally operating in a lack mindset. So you can't be afraid to lose people and things, because there will be other people and things. My next tip is to be selective, especially when dating. Back when I had no idea what I wanted, when I had no standards, just a whole bunch of preferences, no non-negotiables, no idea in mind of what I wanted in a partner, I was kind of taking a little bit of any and everything. And I didn't really have any criteria. I was just going off looks, maybe a little bit of personality. I was really just going with vibes, if we're being honest. And I realized recently that that was me not knowing that I could be selective too. Basically, I realized that I didn't have to just date whoever approached me or date whoever was interested in me. I could actually have my picks too. And when I really think about it, I only dated whoever when I didn't like myself. Like, when I didn't know my self-worth, I wasn't worried about people living up to a certain standard. I wasn't worried about people carrying themselves a certain way or just having certain personality traits, certain character traits. I wasn't worried about that, because at that time, if I had really sat down and thought about what I wanted in a partner, like what I really ideally wanted to have, I didn't believe that I deserved those things. I didn't believe that I was worth those things. So I was letting any and everybody just slide on in. And I know now that I don't have to take any and everything that's thrown at me, and that's in relationships, dating, and life in general. I used the content creator example before with the brand deals. I don't have to accept every brand deal that's thrown at me. And I'm an entrepreneur. For those of y'all who don't know, I am a lash tech. I don't have to take every client that's thrown at me. And that actually brings me to a really good point. If you're an entrepreneur, then you already know this, but as a business owner, it's important to have a target audience, a target market. You have to know who you're marketing to. As a lash tech, when I post certain things on my Instagram page, I have to know who my ideal client is. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to turn away people who are not exactly in that description, but it means that I am aiming for a certain type of person. Now, I use the example of being a business owner because I'm one of the only entrepreneurs in my family. Now I have entrepreneur friends, but at one point I didn't have any entrepreneur friends. So whenever I would ask certain people for their take on things concerning my business, they would often give me responses and advice that caused me to lower my standard for my client. Or they would give me advice and responses that caused me to ultimately appear like I was pressed. And I see people say it all the time. Girls be on TikTok going on their little rants about hairstylists and nail techs and lash techs, and they say, y'all act like y'all not pressed for our money. We're not. That's the thing. Well, me personally, as a lash tech, I'm not pressed for anyone's money. Yes, I appreciate your business, but I am not pressed for anyone's money, because that means I'm going to allow you to do any and everything you want to do just so I can have your money. And it does not work that way. And you have to go through life with that same exact mindset. You have to be selective about who you allow in your space, who you're friends with, who you spend a lot of time with, who you allow in your home. You can't just be letting any and everybody in. Not everything is a missed opportunity. Some things are simply just not for you. And you cannot settle because you're going to be resentful later. You have to be able to make short-term sacrifices for long-term rewards. When you let people slip through the cracks, and you settle, and you lower the standard, and you lower the bar, and you go back and forth with your non-negotiables, you resent those people later on. Because at some point, you're going to end up saying to yourself or that person, I didn't even want this anyway. I wanted more than what you're giving me, but I decided to settle And now I'm mad at you. How dumb does that sound? I wanted this and you were offering me this and I decided to take it, but that's nobody's fault but yours. And I know sometimes it seems like having something is better than having nothing, but what is it costing you? Because somebody lowballing you, whether that's with money or in a relationship, friendship, whatever, someone lowballing you is literally someone saying, I don't see your worth. I don't see your value. I don't see why you're asking for XYZ because you don't deserve that. They're trying to tell you who you are and what you deserve and what your worth is. You gotta know that first. My next piece of advice is to stop trying to prove yourself and audition for roles in people's lives. This one, the girls really need to hear this one because the girls are getting dragged through the mud. I know so many women who deal with so much, especially in relationships, because they're literally auditioning for a spot in someone's life. I know y'all have heard of Erica McDowell on TikTok. Her TikTok is official Erica M, I believe, if it's the same as her Instagram. But she did an interview where she was talking about how men like to dangle things in your face, like a ring, for example. They'll dangle that in your face and they'll say like, oh, if you do this, then you'll get the ring, or I'll marry you once you start doing this, or I'll do this once you start doing this. Literally making you audition for a title or a role that's really not even guaranteed. Let's be honest. And some of them don't say it. With some of them, it's like an unsaid thing. Like they'll just simply drag you through the mud. They'll do the worst to you, make you take care of them when they're going through, just so that you can prove that you're ride or die, so that you can get this thing at the end of whatever this journey is they're taking you on. Spare me, please. Stop the auditioning, girl. He's either gonna see your worth or he's not. When someone truly loves you, and again, this applies to a bunch of different things, but we're just gonna use the relationship and dating example. When someone truly loves you and sees your value from the beginning, they will not make you audition for anything. They won't make you prove yourself because they already see it. They already see the material. They don't need you to jump through hoops and do cartwheels and do magic tricks to prove that you're worth whatever it is that you want. Cause I just feel like this. If we're dating intentionally, you should not be asking me to be your girlfriend if you don't see me being a good candidate for a wife. Yeah, that's your dumb fault if you choose me to be your girlfriend and you don't know if I could potentially make a good mother or wife. Now, I totally understand being in a relationship and finding out that the qualities you thought someone had, they may not have. But in that case, why are you still here? If you find out somewhere along the way that that person does not fit the description, why you ain't getting up out of there? So I say that to say that you don't need to audition for a role in anyone's life. They either see the value or they don't. They see the material or they don't. Stop letting men dog you out just so that you can prove that you're ride or die, so that you can get the ring that you might not ever even get. Stop pacifying men when they're broke and lazy just so that they can say, oh yeah, she really stood by me and supported me and took care of me when I was down, when they finally have money. Because who's to say they're ever really going to have the money? And that's not to say that you can't be with a man when he's down. You can absolutely do that if that's what you choose to do, but don't do it as your way of auditioning, because you don't prove that you're worthy of a title or a ring or whatever it is that you want by letting people cross your boundaries or by not having boundaries at all. You simply show up as your authentic self. It shouldn't be about putting you through the ringer. And lastly, number 5, my final tip is to spend time alone. I cannot stress this one enough. And I saved this one for last because all the other things that I mentioned will be easy to do when you do this one thing. You have to spend time alone because that's the only way that you're going to learn yourself and truly love yourself. If you struggle with self-love, confidence, knowing who you are, trusting yourself, you have to spend time with yourself. Spend time alone. If you're already in a relationship that you're happy in, then I'm not going to say take some time to be single. But if you are single, you really need to learn to appreciate this time that you have to yourself. It's one of the best things I've ever done. A few years ago, I went through a breakup and I decided that I was going to take that time to really focus on me and enjoy spending time alone because it was something I didn't know how to do. I realized once that breakup happened that I was very codependent. I didn't know how to be by myself. I had been in relationships for like 8 consecutive years pretty much because I was in one relationship for like 5 years. We broke up and I got right into another one. And that first relationship started when I was like 16, 17. So I had never been alone in my adult years until I was like what, 23, 24. So I was very intentional about it. I said I wasn't going to date for a few months at least. I think I gave myself like 3 months. I don't know if I went over that, but my intention was to spend 3 months no dating, like not going on dates, not talking to anyone. My confidence was so low. I feel like I appeared, well, I'm not even gonna say I feel like, because people have told me that they never knew I struggled with lack of confidence. I don't know, I guess I hit it very well, but my confidence was very, very low for majority of my life. And like I said in this video earlier, that's actually what drove me to make a lot of the dumb decisions that I made. That's why I was dating a lot of the guys that I was dating. I didn't love myself. I didn't see my value. I didn't know my worth. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what I didn't like. I didn't have any standards, no non-negotiables. And it took me spending time alone to figure all that stuff out. I know a lot of people are probably going to ask, well, what do you do during this time that you're spending alone? Because just sitting by yourself 24/7 isn't really going to teach you, you know, who you are. It's not going to help you to figure out who you are, what you like. And in response to that, I'll say yes and no, because one thing I did was literally spend time sitting in the house by myself doing nothing, watching TV, eating some snacks, not scrolling on my phone, like not being on social media. I think I actually did a 30-day social media cleanse during this time. So sometimes sitting down doing nothing and just chilling by yourself does help, but that's not the only thing you have to do. Journaling helps a lot. Like, look up some journal prompts on Pinterest, because I think that's what I did. Sit down, take some time to answer those questions that you find on Pinterest. Become self-aware, figure out what triggers you, figure out the traumas that you have, what happened to you in your childhood that caused you to accept the things that you've been accepting in relationships. What happened in your childhood that may be making you so desperate for a relationship, desperate to have someone by your side, desperate to be somebody's girlfriend, desperate for money. You're allowing people to lowball you all the time. What's making you so desperate? What is driving this lack mindset that you have? Why don't you feel like you're worthy of the things that you want? Ideally, with no restrictions, no limitations, what would you have? Like, what would you have in a partner? What would your life look like? What kind of career would you have? Sit down and think about all those things, because you cannot love yourself if you don't know yourself. You cannot love someone you don't know. And a lot of y'all don't know yourselves because you've never sat down and spent time with yourself. It's just like dating someone else, being in a relationship with someone else. You have to go on dates with that person. You have to just spend intimate quality time with that person, maybe just sitting in the house chilling, enjoying each other's company, asking that person questions. When you're in a relationship, it matters what that person's love language is. Figure out what your love language is. Do all those things for yourself. If your love language is gifts, buy yourself gifts every now and then. Treat yourself to something every now and then. If your love language is words of affirmation, write some stuff on some sticky notes and put it on your mirror, in your bedroom, in your bathroom, whatever. If your love language is quality time, spend some quality time with yourself. Sit down, binge watch a show on Netflix, read a book, get a hobby, do something. And this is so important, because once you love yourself and actually like yourself, because that's a big one too, you won't have a problem raising the bar and making people rise to the occasion. And you also won't have a problem with people walking away when you set boundaries and set your standards. You'll literally just be on to the next. You have to set the standard. Like, you have to show people how they're supposed to treat you. And that starts with how you treat yourself. If you treat yourself like trash, why would somebody come into your life treating you better than that? If you don't take care of yourself, if you're not making sure you look up to par on a regular basis, if you don't care about your appearance when you walk out the door 90% of the time, if you're constantly talking to yourself like trash, if you're calling yourself dumb all the time, why do you expect someone else to come into your life treating you the opposite of that? Set the standard. Do it yourself first. So hopefully this helped the girls. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions that you want to leave down below in the comments for any of our girls, feel free to do that. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.